got a catchphrase here.
Still don't
This is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about.
Still don't
Okay.
I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. This is one of my good days, one of the ones that I do believe. Everything that she said to me, like every single time she said Nur-D, you're super fine. I look into the mirror and I think she might be kinda right, cause I know I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. This is one of my better days. One of the times where I'm not gonna believe the lies, not gonna hide my hot self away. Oh no, cause I'm going out and I'm looking freaking fresh for you, no doubt. I'm a hot beef, I'm a slick piece. When you see me on the street, take your phone out because you know I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. This is one of my best days. X-nay on that XL. Give me one more and it's checkmate. And I'm about an 8 and you like a 10. And we looking like a Ric Flair stable. Soon as I am able, put you on the table. Give you what you want. Oh yeah, I'ma give you what you need. Cause see when I'm feeling myself, maybe I can be the one you need. Maybe I can be the one you tell your friends about when we be hanging out on Becky's couch. If it's the truth, it's not conceited. They be nodding all their heads because they all believe in that. I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. This for one of my bad days. One of the ones where there's no one else. One of the ones where I hate myself. One of the times where I feel like I don't wanna try. Maybe I can take the CD, put it on repeat, and maybe then I will just stop believing that I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. I look good. Take my picture. I look super hot right now, girl. Take my picture. I'm too sexy in this shirt, boy. Take my picture. Oh my God, I look good. Take my picture.
Hi everyone, welcome to TEDxMinneapolis. I'm Ariane Loxo, director, and here with me is our lead curator, Megan Steffer. We are your hosts for this weekend's journey, debuting 11 brand new ideas from the Minneapolis community.
For everyone joining us on our virtual event platform, Attendify, we cannot wait to share everything we've got in store for you. That includes meet the speaker opportunities after every session and all kinds of bonus content. And we also want to welcome everybody joining us as part of our YouTube premiere audience. And if you're feeling like you missed out by not joining us in Attendify, well, it's not too late to get your ticket. Just go to TEDxMinneapolis.com and click Get Tickets Here.
We begin this event by acknowledging the land that Minneapolis stands on as Dakota Nation land. This includes all the venues where we filmed the talks you're about to see: Dogwood Coffee Northeast, the Minneapolis Institute of Arts, the Tech Box at the Cole Center for Dance and Performing Arts, and the Holden Room at Hennepin Made.
The map you see on the screen represents the past, present, and future of Dakota people and language in the Twin Cities. It's such a beautiful and visual tool to help you connect the places you know and love with their Dakota heritage. We want to thank the artist, Marlena Miles, for giving us permission to share this map with you. And she's even offering a downloadable version, which those of you joining us in Attendify can find in the contributors section. And in that same section, you'll find a link to her website where you can learn more about the Dakota history of this land and hear audio recordings of how to pronounce the Dakota place names across our city.
We also need to take a moment, and to be honest, a moment is not even close to enough. This is a real lifetime of work that we're responsible for, to recognize and acknowledge the deep loss our community is feeling after the death of George Floyd, who was killed at the hands of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin and his 3 colleagues who did not intervene. Black lives matter, and George Floyd's life mattered. He was a beloved member of this community. We are all heartbroken, angry, and grieving at yet another horrific case of racial injustice. We stand with all Black, Indigenous, and people of color who have been victimized and who continue to be victimized by our city, our state, this region, and this country, by our long history of racial inequality, discrimination, and violence. I invite you all watching to take a moment of silence now to honor George Floyd and the many, many other Black lives lost at the hands of police. Thank you. TEDxMinneapolis is committed to amplifying the ideas that will catalyze change and create an equitable and just future. We'll share some of these ideas today and invite you to share with us other ideas we should be amplifying. TEDx is a multiplier. You can take a great idea and amplify it with a few 100,000 views, 1 million views, and inspire all those viewers to action. And so I invite you all to think about the actions you will take after watching these talks. What will you do differently? How will you respond to the calls for action you'll hear this weekend? And we'll be doing the same.
Each of the ideas that we're sharing over the next 2 days address this changing world from different angles. And we hope that they will inspire you and spark ideas for how you can take action. For each TEDxMinneapolis event, we choose our theme after we choose our speakers. So in a sense, our speaker curation process takes us on a deep journey of listening to the voices of our community, and each event is a reflection of our city's collective voice in that year. And while change has always been a constant in human history, its pace has really been picking up speed in recent years. And this year, as our team reflected on the themes that were bubbling up from the speakers you'll hear at this event, their ideas really all seem to call out our arrival at a turning point of sorts. A turning point where we no longer have the option to choose to stand by and watch the change happening around us. Like it or not, we're along for the ride and we need to be ready to adapt. And when we realized that revelation, we knew we had our theme, which is adaptation.
And we chose this theme before COVID-19 had emerged in the US, right before actually, and before the murder of George Floyd. These events have really turned our lives upside down. And now we each have a choice to make. So how will you respond? Will you resist and fight this changing world, or will your worldview change entirely? Will you evolve? We hope through this weekend's event, you'll see the changes around us through a new lens, one that will spark ideas for how you can respond and actions you can take.
Each of our 3 sessions look at this state of adaptation through a slightly different lens. Tonight, disruption. We're going to talk about what sparked this upheaval and what really brought us to this unprecedented time. Tomorrow morning, transformation. And then tomorrow afternoon, collective evolution. How will each of us intentionally contribute to this changing world? And on Sunday, we'll close it with a community reflection to take some time to sit with what we've seen and heard over the course of the weekend. We're in this together, and together we are going to go forward into whatever the next year has in store for us.
So for those of you who have been to an in-person TEDxMinneapolis before, and let us know in the chat if you have felt the magic of coming together to witness powerful new ideas. And when we chose the theme Adaptation, we thought we'd be hosting you in person, but then the world changed and so we adapted. The mission of TEDx Minneapolis is to engage our community with ideas that spark global conversation. And this mission inspired us to take advantage of this opportunity to completely reimagine our event as a virtual platform for us to come together to share and amplify these ideas that we think will change the world.
Our team of volunteers, and yes, we are all volunteers, our incredible director included, spent the spring and summer dedicated to producing something that wasn't just another online meeting, but a true premier virtual event, and we can't wait to share it with you. And if you happen to get so inspired by this event that you want to be one of those volunteers, come visit us at our special breakout session on Saturday to learn more about volunteering as part of our team.
So the talks you're about to see were filmed in September, made possible only by our COVID safety protocol, which we designed based on CDC recommendations so that our speakers, film crew, and the very small audiences that we had in person could deliver, film, and watch the talks safely. This included self-quarantining before the shoots, a daily symptom assessment, temperature checks at the door, wearing masks, and keeping a safe distance. Black Label Movement actually took it a few steps further, and you'll hear more about that later.
But before we start the talks, we want to take a moment to give some love to our incredible sponsors. Ticket sales only cover a very small portion of the cost to film and produce these talks and host this virtual event. And none of this would be possible without the sponsors who have been so generous with their time, their services, and their financial support.
We are so grateful for the Bush Foundation for supporting Ideas Worth Spreading, which they have not only done with us over many years, but also through their other programs like the Bush Fellowship Program.
And Little and Company brought Adaptation to life with the logos, the slide deck, the branding, and the social media that you're seeing throughout and leading up to this event.
Intermark has nurtured new relationships with sponsors who are aligned with TEDx Minneapolis' mission.
And Tad Brenny has shared his Emmy-winning expertise with our team, elevating the production of this event to the premier level that you're experiencing now.
End-to-End Technologies, part of CT Holdings, offered us their temperature scanners, which we used as part of our COVID safety protocol when filming the talks you're about to see.
And we're also incredibly grateful to our longtime supporters of TEDx Minneapolis, the U of M College of Liberal Arts, and HGA. So please be sure to learn more and support these amazing companies and all of our sponsors. You can find them in the sponsors section of the Attendify app.
Finally, we need to extend a big thank you to all of you who donated or purchased a Pay My Way supporter or patron ticket. You made this event possible too. A big virtual round of applause for all of you.
And of course, we also want to say a big thanks to all of you who bought tickets to this event and are joining us on the Attendify platform. We want to take just a minute to share some of the features of that platform so you can take full advantage of everything that's there for you. So Attendify is available to all ticket holders, and it's available to you both on the web and as a cell phone app. And there's a couple features you'll only find on the app, so we recommend using both. And if you're watching us via our YouTube premiere right now, but you have a ticket to the event, check your Know Before You Go email, and that will give you all the instructions you need to get logged in. Now, as much as we would love to promise that this is going to be an event that is completely free of technical glitches for everyone involved, these platforms are new to all of us, and we might run into a hiccup or two along the way. So if you are having trouble at any time, just email relations@TEDxMinneapolis.com, and we've got our team standing by to help. To view the sessions on Attendify, navigate to the schedule session on the left side of your screen. Here you're seeing the desktop view. The mobile view will look just a little bit different, but the components are the same. While you're watching the sessions, be sure to share your reactions and your questions in the session chat. We're actually going to be keeping an eye on that throughout the event, and we're going to be collecting questions there for our live Meet the Speakers gatherings after every single session. And between the sessions, check out all the amazing bonus content throughout Attendify. You can find details about our speakers, about our contributors, and so much more. You can even send private messages to other attendees through the community section. And like Ariane mentioned, coming together in person, meeting new people, sharing ideas is such a big part of in-person TEDx Minneapolis events, and we don't want to lose that. So we really encourage all of you to go ahead and use that feature to reach out to at least one new person over the course of this weekend. And again, if you're joining us via the YouTube premiere and feeling like you're missing out on all this amazing content, it is not too late to buy a ticket at TEDxMinneapolis.com. Okay, what do you think? Are you guys ready to get started?
I think we should start the show.
Okay.
Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
I am thrilled to be able to introduce you to our first speaker. She specializes in consumer behavior, and Neely Tamminga is an expert on the consumer economy. After a 20-year career on Wall Street, she co-founded Distill, an advisory service that gives research-driven insights to companies and their boards, from global giants like Google to Midwest favorites like Maurice's and the Duluth Trading Company on their strategies for future growth. Not sure what all this means? Don't worry, Neely's going to break it down for us.
What happens to an economy when its people retire and begin to consume less? It's a silly question if the economy is tied to banking, like in Luxembourg, or oil, like the United Arab Emirates. But here in the United States of America, more than 2/3 of our economy is tied to how much people consume. Like wallpaper, ripped off an old plastered wall, the COVID pandemic revealed what it really looks like when people stop consuming. How do we know? Well, all economies measure their value or their worth by totaling up the cost of everything produced or consumed within their borders. This is what we call GDP, or gross domestic product. And our GDP declined by 32% in the months that surrounded the pandemic-induced economic shutdown. It even tipped us into a recession, all because people began to consume a little bit less. But the shutdown revealed a hidden crack behind that wallpaper, a glimpse into yet another consumption crisis right around the corner, the graying of the US economy. You know what we're talking about here, right? Like, some people call this the silver tsunami, others call this the gray wave or the silver wave. We prefer our term gray economy because, well, it has the word economy in it, but we are all talking about the same thing, the aging of the US consumer into retirement. My name is Neely Tamminga, and if economic data were nutrition, I'd be a nutritionist. The company I co-founded, Distill, advises CEOs and boards about consumer behavior all through an economic lens. I have been researching and writing about consumerism for more than half my life. And as nerdy as I can get into the details and data, I have found that personal experiences truly do spark the best insights. So, when I was a little girl, around the age of 12, I used to love to hop on my bike and ride into the center of the town I grew up in called Webster Groves, Missouri. There in the center of town stood this Ben Franklin 5 and dime store known for its endless aisles of candy. Before I'd hop on my bike, I'd be at home scraping together this sweaty wad of coins and cash, amounting to $5 before stuffing them in my pocket. On those trips, my economic reality was $5. And my life's priority was to purchase all the Swedish fish my money would allow me to buy, which was a lot back then because when I was a kid, it was 1 penny per fish. Kids are not getting as much these days for their $5. I've calculated it because I am nerdy like that. They're paying 1.3 cents per fish. The point of the story is this. All consumer purchases, yours and mine, begin with an economic reality and a life stage priority. Let's consider together how these realities and priorities shift as we age. At 12, it's $5 in candy. At 22, it's a little more than $5, and candy becomes beer. At 32, it's a lot more than $5, and candy becomes a really cool car. At 42, you're making some good money. But candy starts to become whatever your mate wants to remodel in that home you just bought in the burbs. And at 52, you're making some of the best money of your career, but you also have some of your biggest bills as you seek to put kids through college, possibly pay for big weddings. It's also an age where you begin to look out onto the horizon and contemplate your retirement as you watch your parents live out theirs. And at 62, you find yourself at that doorstep of retirement. And there's a single but significant calculation that greets you in the form of a question before you decide to step through that threshold. At which age do you begin to take Social Security benefits? Now, at a lower amount, or later, at a higher amount? Whatever you decide, that amount basically remains fixed for your remaining years on this blue earth. As a child or as an adult, all consumer purchases begin with an economic reality. We can only spend what we think we have in our pockets or what we think we're going to have in our future. When we're early in our adult years, we tend to think of our income potential as one with an infinite horizon, which just fuels boundless optimism and sometimes boundless consumption as we seek to keep up with the Joneses. But as we near those retirement years, that horizon becomes a little bit more finite and pragmatism sets in. As it turns out, there's math that supports this shift in mindset. In research findings by our firm, we uncovered a chilling statistical relationship between Social Security benefits and retail sales. Now, retail sales is this commonly monitored measurement of our economy. It's part of the consumption component of that GDP we talked about earlier. We found that as Social Security benefits begin to accelerate like a foot on a gas pedal going faster and faster, retail sales begin to decelerate about a year later like another foot pumping on the brakes. As consumers age into this economic reality of retirement, they begin to spend less in the economy. Think of it this way. If you're 52 and you're still working, you don't even think twice about picking up the tab to a really big family dinner at a really nice restaurant. But if you're 72 and you're no longer working, you might have to think twice about picking up that tab because your budget, your income, it's fixed. See, as consumers age into this new reality and their mindset shifts from optimism to pragmatism, retail sales, consumption, our economy are all connected and affected. Retail sales, consumption, our economy are all connected and affected. The pandemic-induced economic shutdown proved that to be an undeniable truth. Yet, here we are with another consumption crisis right around the corner, the precipice of great economy with the aging of the US consumer into the retirement years. Each year, we see a steady growth in the number of people aging into their retirement years. We're here in the year 2020, and 20 years ago, we had 40 million people aged 62 and older. 10 years ago, that 40 million grew to 47 million. Do you know how many people are aged 62 and older this year? 66 million people. 66 million people. That's a 65% increase from 20 years ago. 66 million people. That's the entire size of the population of the United Kingdom. Look around you. 1 in 5 people are either in or very near retirement, and this is growing. There are more people turning 62 in the next 2 years here in the United States than history has ever seen before. The baby boomers are aging into retirement, which means the baby boomers are aging into a new economic reality. A simple but seismic truth. Retirees report lower income and they spend less money. Our research found that when we compared folks age 65 and older to those that are age 55 to 64, reported income was 18% lower. And not surprisingly, spending was 23% less. It makes sense. Work less, have less, spend less. Okay, so more people are aging into a new economic reality called retirement with a fixed and lower income, and therefore they're consuming less and spending less. Big deal? Big deal. The health of the US economy is built on people buying things and spending money on services. From homes to healthcare, food to gas, clothes to phones, travel to baseball games, goods and services, our nation's identity is shaped by how much people consume. So, what happens to a consumer-driven economy when so many more of its people begin to retire and consume less? Can the economy grow while consumers gray? We don't know the precise answers to these questions. This is a very new chapter in US economic history, but it will repeat itself again with the aging of the millennials. So we would be wise to contemplate our economic future, try to get it right with the aging of the baby boomers. What we do know is that for the past 70 years, it's been a codependent relationship. So goes the consumer, so goes the economy. The graying of the US consumer is really an economic identity crisis revealed. We are highly dependent on consumption. We cannot reshape our economic identity, our GDP overnight. It's not possible overnight. Perhaps we need a new one, like banking is for Luxembourg or oil is for the United Arab Emirates. Maybe we do need a new dominant driver, say like manufacturing or some technological version of that. Until we get there, we can gently guide our individual consumption identities to one that is mindful, choosing quality over quantity, buying products intended to last, spending money where there's really meaning, or spending on services that we truly need. As individuals searching for our own identities, maybe we need to think a little bit less about keeping up with the Joneses and more about connecting with the Joneses, caring for the Joneses, being kind to the Joneses. Maybe if we saved or invested more during our working years, we could then spend more in our retirement years, or even better, invest more in the generations that follow us, flattening the curve of consumption while building a more sustainable economy along the way. What if we bought a little less candy, a little less beer, a more pragmatic car, a slightly smaller home, hosted meaningful, not showy weddings, chose gap years to go learn a trade and earn money before heading off to college in order to reduce our dependence on debt while there? Small moments of individual discernment can pay big dividends in the future. Here's what I want for us. Let's be a people that shapes an economy, not an economy that shapes a people. The consumer has proven that they've been in the driver's seat of this economy for the past 70 years. So let's shape it together, get in a more pragmatic car, and drive. As individuals, let's choose an economy that evolves from placing value on its citizens solely by how much they consume into one that values how they consume. Mindfully, with future hindsight, with the kind of wisdom that only a 62-year-old at the doorstep of retirement can offer. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just love listening to Neely. She talks about economics in such a down-to-earth way, and what a relevant topic right now. If you also have a timely, relevant, innovative idea, join us at tomorrow's breakout at 12:30 Central to share your idea worth spreading in 5 minutes or less. You will get feedback from Megan and Lisa Marie, our lead speaker coach, and who knows, maybe next time it'll be you delivering your talk on the TEDxMinneapolis stage. This is only open to paid ticket holders, so if you're watching online, come grab a ticket at TEDxMinneapolis.com to join us tomorrow.
And now it is time for our next speaker. If you have not already discovered Matt Allen, aka Nur-D, he is gonna rock your world. You saw him in tonight's opening video, and I feel so lucky that I actually got a chance to see him perform live at First Ave's Best New Bands of 2019.
Jealous.
Yeah. The room was absolutely electric when he and his band closed out the night. So since it's going to be a while before we can all pack into First Ave and see him together live, I'm going to pass it over to him to share a look into his world since the pandemic hit.
I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, you over there. Super sorry. Sorry. Yeah. I'm guessing you're wondering, why is he saying sorry instead of hello, thank you, you're far too kind? Well, the reason is what I'm about to talk about has everything to do with two topics, and those are specific events surrounding the murder of George Floyd and everyone's favorite topic, race. And I found that when you're going to talk about these sort of things, the best thing to do is say sorry right off the bat, right at the top, so the whole thing has a little bit of a this might sting a bit to it. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Who am I? Well, my name is Matt Allen, Mr. Allen, if you're nasty, and I was born in Bronx, New York. Something that would give me a whole lot more street cred if it wasn't for the fact that I moved when I was very young to a town called Rosemont, Minnesota. Ooh. Fun fact about Rosemont, we had 3 liquor stores, a Mr. Movies, and a Blockbuster Video before we had a public library. So, you know, just a little bit of Rosemont trivia to dazzle your friends with. Something that I learned right away growing up in Rosemont, Minnesota, I actually learned 2 things, cemented into the mold of who I was. The first was, I love to entertain. I love to sing, dance. You know what? I was called back junior year to be Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Now, I ultimately didn't get it, but I did get to sing a nice Jamaican number, so, you know, that was fun. Which leads me to the second thing I learned. Because growing up in Rosemont, Minnesota, it was clear that I was unstoppably, uncontrollably, and irreversibly black. I'm sorry. For those of you who can't see color and are like, who is this weird muscle and bone man, and what's he talking about? My skin has a different shade than the majority of people I went to high school with, a majority of the people that I shared a Blockbuster Video with in Rosemont, Minnesota. And when you grow up different in a town like that, you have 3 options. You can either fight, flee, or hide. And while I was strong, I wasn't really a fighter, and I'm not in the fleeing business, so I decided to hide. Now, Matt, you ask, you're very wide. Where were you expecting to hide at? And to that I say, thanks for that. But there are multiple ways for children to hide from a world that hates and fears them. I wanted to be an entertainer, so I entertained. I danced, I sang, I threw myself into my passion, and it became my safe space. It's a lot harder to hear the hate when you have an auditorium full of people cheering for you. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it. I do enjoy it. For those of you who don't know, I do hip hop in the Twin Cities under the name Nur-D. And I've done pretty well for myself. I've been able to play at First Ave, Paisley Park, the US Bank Stadium, and across the country in a dramatic amount of time. Something that many of my hip hop peers have worked decades and decades just to get even half of the opportunities that I've been able to receive. Something that makes me just as well liked behind closed doors as it sounds. And some of the reasons for that is because, yes, my music is good, and yes, my music is positive, but a clear and repeating factor is that my music is clean. No cussing. Now, I have said damn a few times, and I did say that fictional haters could pucker to my anus, which, while gross, isn't technically swearing. I told the radio station who still wouldn't play the song. But it's true, 99% of my music is clean, no cussing. In fact, it's very nonviolent from content to tone. And it gives me a lot of opportunities. So when TEDxMinneapolis asked me to come here, stand on this spot, look super hot, which I feel like I have, I came up with an idea on what to speak on. Clean hip hop is the future of hip hop. And by embracing it, not only will you be a better artist and more successful, but you will affect the world more for the better. I had written stuff about that. But then something happened. May 25th, an officer of the Minneapolis Police Department murdered a man named George Floyd by kneeling on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, while 2 of his fellow officers held him down and 1 more made sure that the terrified onlookers couldn't save him. That video was captured on a cell phone, put online, and went viral worldwide. And when I saw that video, something inside of me broke. You see, no matter how much I danced or how wide I smiled, I was still black. And no matter how deep I threw myself into my passion, it was less of a fortress of solitude and more of a saloon door that trouble could and would walk through at any opportunity. My mind raced back to when I was leaving Rosemont Marcus Theater, and cops showed with their lights, and they demanded me to show them some ID. I remember pointing to my name tag because I was too afraid to reach for my wallet. My mind raced back to when my car got a flat in the blizzard, and a cop car pulled up, and I was so thankful that someone was there to help me. And as I stood up and brushed the snow from my pants, the officers got out of their cars with their hands on their guns and told me to drop the weapon. A literal saving grace that so many young men like me never got. As we marched the 3 miles from Cup Foods to the 3rd Precinct, I didn't want to dance or sing. I wanted them to hurt. As they fired gas and rubber bullets at children and elderly people all gathered, I didn't want anything. I thought to myself, I want each and every one of those cross-burning, goose-stepping, child-beating monsters to pay for what they did, and anyone who supports them to pay as well. I didn't want to dance. I didn't want to sing. May 27th, where we were providing first aid Outside of a peaceful protest of the 3rd Precinct, I remember as a young black girl was brought to me shaking in her own blood, trying not to choke on her teeth because a police officer had shot her in the mouth with a non-lethal round. As we put her in a civilian car because 911 wasn't sending ambulances, I didn't want to make a 90s cartoon reference. May 29th, after being shot by the police and fleeing, I watched as a nurse tried to save a young girl's face and eye in a filthy basement by cell phone light, because a police officer had shot that young girl in the face at point-blank range for the crime of being outside after curfew. And I didn't want to sing a note. And on June 1st, when I was put on the ground, hands zip-tied behind my back, so tight that my hands went numb, I watched as an army of police officers descended upon a group of young people sitting at the Capitol singing their songs for a hope of justice. And I learned something there in my brokenness. That my hip-hop peers who have been shouting about these things were broken for a lot longer than I was. The truth is that while Rosemont, Minnesota wasn't a dream, many of my peers who had been ignored by the powers that be had been living in war zones for much longer than a week. And me coming here and asking them to be more accessible was akin to me asking them to lay down their swords and unwound themselves all at the same time. You see, the songs that escaped their lips had cuts and edges and jagged, and they would never expose their necks to anyone ever. I find myself here, burdened under the realization that while my talent and my drive undoubtedly contributed to my success, the truth is that one of the huge contributing factors to me being in the industry where I am today, being here in this room right now, is because I was safer. I am buckling under my arrogance, thinking that I could come here and ask these people, these veterans of systematic dehumanization, to change their songs instead of asking the world to change their ears. And I find myself shattered under the realization that, like Martin Luther King Jr., my message has only been so fervently accepted because those of Malcolm X and my hip-hop peers hit too deep and too radically for people to cope with. So what's my big ask? They say, when you give a speech, you're supposed to have a big ask, something you want the audience to do now that they've heard your story. And mine is this. I am asking you to not let the jagged pieces of a person's song keep you from hearing the melody of their heart. I am begging you to work on being emotionally stronger so that you can be publicly wrong about your misconceived and preconceived notions of people and places and movements that don't center around what makes you more comfortable. Don't let your sacred spaces of success be only filled with people who make you feel good, but allow those spaces to be filled with people who make you feel challenged for not being good enough. And when I said I was sorry earlier, I lied.
An artist's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to reflect the times. I think that is true of painters, sculptors, poets, musicians. As far as I'm concerned, it's their choice. But I choose to reflect the times and the situations in which I find myself. That to me is my duty. And at this crucial time in our lives, when everything is so desperate, when every day is a matter of survival, I don't think you can help but be involved. Young people, black and white, know this. That's why they're so involved in politics. We will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore. So I don't think you have a choice. How can you be an artist and not reflect the times? That to me is the definition of an artist.
8 minutes 46. Send them on the river Styx. Anytime you're on your phone, yeah, you see your dad's never coming home, yeah. Oh, 5:25. Another day, another life. Tell me why they're doing it, and why am I so used to this? I've seen things that I can't unsee. These faces, they cling to me, and I can't sleep, I can't sleep. We got no justice, no, we can't have peace. They beat us so, but they don't want violence. They say have some conversations, they really want silence. But we can't stay quiet. Cause there ain't no hiding from 8 minutes 46. Send them on the river Styx. Anytime you're on your phone, yeah, you see your dad's never coming home. Oh, 5:25. He called his mother when he died, and I can feel it in my chest. What if I'm the one who's next? I don't wanna die in the street. I don't wanna die in the street. Don't wanna die in the street. I 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 don't wanna die in the street.
Wow. I have no words. So I'm going to just jump into introducing our next speaker. Black Label Movement is coming up next. They are known for their wildly physical, emotionally engagement movement art. They refer to their members as movers, not dancers, and I think you'll see why. This piece was filmed during the pandemic under the consultation of Dr. John Hallberg with the support of the University of Minnesota Medical School, which you'll also hear more about in the Meet the Speakers session coming up. Enjoy.
I'm wondering if with this presentation, if there's a way to create something that at least symbolically or visually and physically brings people on this journey to the idea that one of the moments of hope is that we can be in contact again, have that most human of human experiences. Because I think, quite frankly, right now, to see an embrace on something that's made in September is almost a revolutionary act. And so one of the things I'm trying to think about practically is, how do we do that safely? You know, do I have 2 company members, and is it possible for me to work with University of Minnesota experts and specialists to get the appropriate testing so that we can actually do this in a way that doesn't endanger them?
How can we figure out ways to let you guys make art in a safe way, something that really, really needs to happen? And I think, as Carl and I have been talking, that the University of Minnesota is in a really unique position to help make that happen. And you've got such an incredible, amazing director in Carl, who's thinking so coolly outside of the box, that I think we can do some really interesting stuff together.
Right now we're looking at is this idea of a period of self-quarantining right before an intensive, and then a testing right before that intensive. Then the intensive would happen between October, in the week leading up to September 13th, sorry. And, but then we would be tested on the Friday before the shoot day, just to make sure that everything was in good order. And then we would have one more day of rehearsal on a Saturday, and then we'd be into the shoot.
Quarantine from the Italian 40 days. No one's looking at doing a 40-day thing here. So it's almost the wrong term to use. So I think like social isolation, or maybe like being smart, like super smart and super careful, might be even a better way of like phrasing it. So that, you know, you're I mean, let's face it, you can't go to social gatherings. That's probably the single best thing to say. Like, you just, for that 5-7 days, you just can't get together with groups of people. You can't go to a bar. You can't do things. You can't go, don't go to Lake Minnetonka to a flotilla of speedboats. You know, I mean, it's just like anything that seems like, if it strikes you like, ooh, that seems kind of like a risky thing to do, you can't do that. It's, you know, close proximity, long period of time, no one wearing masks. I mean, it just sort of intuitively makes sense, like how people are getting this, you know, for the most part.
Would it be worth then, if we did do a test also on Tuesday, to wait until we got those results? So we've had 2 days together in the studio working, and we just still haven't done the physical contact part, because there are a lot of things that we want to do without physical contact. And then after that test, then we would still have 2 to 3 days.
In some ways, I like the arc of that, because it just gets us back together, finding our connection as a community, and in some ways also has this sense of falling towards touch. So we've done, you know, like the first 2.5 days of intensive, we're about to start getting into touch and sharing weight and things like that. What do you see that protocol as? Like, you know, walk us through it.
It's a pretty simple protocol. I think it's just like mask off, wash your hands, and dance.
So we're in the intensive period, and you're still in this mindfulness around self-quarantining. We're looking at these layers of testing, which sounds like we might even look now at 3 layers of it, but you know, at least 2. And this idea of working on non-contact material in the first couple days, and then moving towards the contact material. When we go to the shoot itself, the big variable is now we're bringing in a camera crew. That camera crew needs to be thinking about self-quarantining as they enter the time. Everything that John has talked about, nothing changes, except now every time we film, there aren't masks on unless masks are being asked for. But if you're not in the shoot, you're masked up. If you're not in the shoot, you make sure before you enter a shoot that you're washing your hands. John, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like,
really try something
that is distinctly new, I think, in many of the TED worlds. So we're making a TED film, and that's exciting.
All right, how did it feel to see the actual dancers touching, John?
Oh, it's so great. I mean, I'm looking at people outside too, looking at like, what is going on? Like, why are these people like in such close proximity without masks on? It's like, we know something that we don't know. No, it's really great. It's wonderful to see this.
To see what our process has allowed us to do. I mean, to see a group of 10 people catching one person falling out of space, without masks and gloves and everything, it really gets at what we're trying to find.
Oh, they look so happy. I mean, it's like I haven't seen like this sort of happiness and smiles and engagement. It just like makes me so sad that those.
Yeah, and it was so amazing on Thursday when we first started touching. There were literally 3 or 4 people just spontaneously burst into tears, and it was just. It was a moment that just this emotional pop that just changed everything.
So imagine if theater companies and dance companies and orchestras, at least the smaller ensembles, could start to figure out a way of doing this. It's huge, and we need this. I mean, we as non-artists need you to be, making your art again and getting on stage and sharing it with us on social media and other venues.
All Minneapolis unites today to pay tribute to the men who have built in this great structure not only a monument to their own usefulness in the community, but an enduring testimonial to the gigantic progress of the greatest city on the vast valley of the Mississippi.
Deep dive, and there it goes! Case on a deep drop, steps up in the pocket. He'll fire to the right side. Oh my God! Stay! Oh my God! Oh my God! Are you kidding me? It's a Minneapolis miracle! Running jump shot. Good! 2 seconds left. Come on, San Antonio. Minnesota's got the lead. Oh, baby, what a play!
Take heart, my fellow Americans. This is not the first time that our nation has faced a challenge to its life and its purpose. We must make this moment of crisis, we must make it a moment of creation.
It was such an honor to witness the film shoot for this piece. Since the crew was not in the Black Label Movement bubble, we watched from a distance, wearing our masks, but still felt the joy and electricity that is just so uniquely created by people coming together and touching, laughing, and just being together. I really hope we'll all be able to experience that again soon. We'll begin our conversation with speakers in a few moments with Carl and Dr. John Hallberg to learn more about the COVID protocol they followed to make this magic happen.
This brings us to the end of our first session of TEDxMinneapolis Adaptation. We want to hear from you what you think so far, so share it in the chat. And for those of you with tickets for Attendify, we'll be starting the Meet the Speakers session right after we close out tonight's session, and you don't want to miss it. Tomorrow, we have 2 more incredible sessions lined up for you. Starting at 10 a.m. Central Time, we'll have Session 2, Transformation. And Session 3, Collective Evolution, starts at 2 p.m. Central Time. In between those sessions, we have 5 breakouts for you to choose from. And again, if you've always wanted to give a TEDx talk yourself, come pitch your idea. I want to hear from you. I'll be giving feedback along with our lead speaker coach, Lisa Marie Hansen. You can find all this information in the schedule in Attendify, or for those of you watching the YouTube premiere at TEDxMinneapolis.com. And of course, use these off hours to keep experiencing Attendify and connecting with other attendees in the community space. You can also check out the shop to get some super cool merch. And you can also download your free TEDx Minneapolis Adaptation Zoom backgrounds to get in the spirit on those breakouts and meet the speaker sessions.
For those watching on YouTube, we will say farewell to you here. Everyone else, go to your schedule and look for Session 1, Meet the Speakers, to join us for a conversation with all of tonight's speakers, including special guest Dr. John Hallberg. We'll get started in about 5 minutes. We'll see you there.
Thank you.